Natsumi Yokota. These are my co-presenters, Erika and Chisa. Thank you for coming today to learn more about Japanese culture.
Today, we would like to talk about men's and women's roles and issues. Have you ever experienced gender inequality? Beginning of this presentation, I will tell you some information about this topic. In Japan, men and women have differences in society. Throughout Japanese history, the roles were improved. However, when we compare with other countries, we can notice the low position of women in Japan. Today, we have two questions for you. Please think about these questions. First, do you think men and women have a different ability? Second, what is men's and women's roles? Please keep in your mind.
First, I will talk about the differences between men's and women's jobs. Second, Erika will talk about Japanese family. Finally, Chisa will introduce about Japanese society. Please enjoy our presentation. First of all, I would like to talk about the unfair world of jobs between Japanese men and women. What I want to share with you today is history, differences at work, and maternity leave system. Starting with history, the beginning of differences between men and women goes back to ancient time. In the distant past, there were a lot of female leaders, and men and women had equivalent relations socially, politically, and economically. In the Nara and Heian era, their position was still equal. However, in the Nara era, their position changed. Most men worked outside. Most women stayed at home and did housework. Also, Confucianism was official philosophy. And this belief changed their position and thinking. Therefore, husbands were higher and wives obeyed their husbands. Next, World War II. Before the war, most men worked as farmers, and most women didn't have jobs because if they worked, it was difficult to get married. During the war, most women had to work outside to support their family because most men went to the army. In contrast, after the war, the number of housewives increased from 5 to 9 million. And because most men who went to the army came back and began to work outside. Moreover, most men supported Japan and their family. A good example of this is my grandmother. She never worked outside and disobeyed my grandfather. After that, some convenient machines were invented, such as washing machines and vacuum cleaners. Consequently, most women began to get part-time jobs because their housework became easier.
Great question. Excellent.
Now we will move on to differences at work. In 2013, the Global Gender Gap Report announced the ranking of the world. And this survey looked primarily at 4 key areas: politics, economics, health and survival, and education. The best country was Iceland. The US was 23rd out of 136. What do you think Japan was? Japanese ranking was 105 out of 136. It showed Japan is a man's world. Why was Japanese ranking low, although Japan is a developed country? Because Japan lacks equality in politics and economics. Today, I have two examples about it. First, men and women are different from promotion at work. Although men and women join a company the same year, most men will promote faster than women after 10 years. One of the reasons is old thinking. As I mentioned, after the war, most men supported Japan and their family. So senior workers think men are good at work still today. Also, they have a big difference of salary. The average men's annual salary is $50,000, so the average women's salary is $25,000. One of the reasons is most women quit their jobs before they become 40 years. However, if they are same age and rank at work, women's salary is 10% smaller than men's. Let me turn to maternity leave system. In Japan, people who have children can take this leave. In 2011, the average number of women who took maternity leave was 83.7%. On the other hand, the average number of men who took maternity leave was less than 3%. In the present situation, it's difficult to get maternity leave for men because most companies don't support men's maternity leave. Moreover, there are some disadvantages of maternity leave. When people raise children, they need money to buy some stuff for them. However, people who take maternity leave can't get money from their companies during leave. They can get 2/3 of salary from healthcare, but it's not always enough. For the future, Japanese should respect history, but we have to change and stop discrimination. And also, we have to improve business systems, such as maternity leave. Thank you for listening. Next, Erika will talk about Japanese family.
Thank you, Natsumi. I will explain about roles in Japanese family. First, history of roles in marriage. Second, housework. And third, comparison to American family. Let's begin by explaining the history of roles in marriage. First of all, as Natsumi mentioned, the relationship between men and women was equal in ancient times. Second of all, in Heian era, there is a marriage system called kayoikon. In this system, men have to go women's house and get along each other. Throughout this term, they get married. Next, Kamakura era. In this era, there is a law called kafuchōsei. In this law, father is the head in the family. So mother and children have to obey father in their life. Also, the marriage system from Heian era was gradually changing. Wife have to go husband's house at a time. The Japanese word called yomeiri, it means wife is husband's possession. This word is still used in present day. After that, Edo era, this era changed Japanese society to a more hierarchical structure. The big change in Edo era was common people started to adopt higher class system of considering women's position as very low. So when they were a child, they have to obey their father After they get married, they have to obey their husband. After they get older, they have to obey their son.
Thank you, Yuki.
Then, Meiji era. In this era, Japan was opened, so a lot of foreigners came into Japan. At last, they could allow to get married to foreigners or persons of different status.
It is.
Also, during this Meiji era, there is a law called Ippui Saisei. This law limits only one wife. Before this era, the husband from higher social class could have more than one wife. Turning to housework in Japan. In Japan, there is a lot of stereotypes of women. These stereotypes came from Confucianism. The thinking is men outside and women inside. So father have to go out and earn money, and mother have to stay in the house and do housework. So that's why housework is women's job in Japan. Also, to give you some example, expressing the word husband in Japanese, shujin. Most wives called shujin, which consists of two kanji. It means main person. On the other hand, kanai, which means inside house, is used by husband as wife. Please look at the percentage of housework. In Japan, wife do housework 90%. However, husband do housework just 10%. Can you believe it? Let me turn now to comparing Norway to Japan. According to one source, Norway is the most cooperative country of housework. In Norway, husband does housework for 180 minutes per day. Wife does housework for 210 minutes. On the other hand, in Japan, husband does housework for just 62 minutes per day, and wife does housework for 300 minutes. Let's move on to comparison to American family. I will explain about different way of expression. American wife and husband praise each other in front of others. However, Japanese wife and husband don't praise each other in front of others. And also, sometimes include criticism. For example, my father invites his coworker in my house, and my mother cooked a dinner. Before eating the dinner, my father will say, "This is the dish which my wife cooked. It's not good though. Please enjoy the meal." It's not looking down, just being modest. Next, different term of endearment. American wife and husband call each other honey or darling or sweetheart. Do you call that? However, Japanese wife and husband call each other okasan, otosan. It means mother and father. So they use their family title. Also, before having children, they call each other given name or nickname. So I think after having children, they focus on their life is focused on their children's life. As you can see, there is a lot of difference between American family and Japanese family. In summary, what I want to share with you today is history of roles in marriage, housework, and comparison to American family. In conclusion, I think we have to pay attention to foreign countries and get some ideas, and Japanese wife and husband have to respect and cooperate. At last, we have to change our old thinking and stereotypes. Thank you for listening. Next, Chisa will explain about discrimination in Japanese society.
Thank you, Erika. I would like to talk about discrimination in Japanese society. At first, I'll talk about background. Next, history. Finally, discrimination. Starting with background, Japanese present situation. As Natsumi mentioned about gender gap, also the social progress of women ranking is 101 out of 135 countries. Also, women directors only 1.4%. This shows low level. But Japanese try to change by Abenomics. Abenomics is economic and monetary politics of Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe is current prime minister. He announced Japan must become a place where women shine. Also, this is Japanese goal. Let's move on to history. Discrimination is not just nowadays. Discrimination have history, such as the right to vote. In 1889, only men had the right to vote. Also, to pay regular tax over 15 yen. 15 yen was very expensive at that time. So there are only 1.1%. As you can see, only men could vote, and out of only rich men. This causes Japanese atmosphere, such as women shouldn't participate in government. But women wanted to have the right to vote. From 1921, women's suffrage movement occurred. Also, women made a lot of organizations. It's difficult to win the right to vote, but they never gave up and keep working. Finally, in 1945, women's suffrage admired by Potsdam Declaration. It's late compared with America. American women's suffrage admired in 1920. Let me turn to discrimination. Japanese women's advancement is very low because some companies don't choose women for leader. This cause is lack of experiences. Some women will housework and parenting. Next, government. Japanese women representative is 11.3%. The other hand, the U.S. women representative is 18%. In Japan's case, this cause is Japanese atmosphere, such as women shouldn't participate in government. So, Japanese still have same atmosphere which I mentioned at history. Also, women voters don't say, please increase women representative. Do you know, also men have discrimination. Japan has Ladies' Day of cinema. If we go to cinema on Ladies' Day, women's cost is $8 cheaper than men's cost.
Finally, I'll tell you about traditional sweet.
Ladies' Day was made a long time ago. Most women didn't work at that time. So, society made Ladies' Day to enjoy movie, cheaper cost for women. But men isn't called this is discrimination. One of the reasons is if men call this is discrimination, it's little ashamed. Japan have some gender system which divide men and women. Sometimes women separate for safety, but it's not discrimination. For example, this is pellicula. It's kind of bottomless. is popular among young people. We can take picture inside.
I'm gonna eat your beautiful hand
This
like me.
only men can't enter some free club.
It will be
This
delicious.
signboard shows
Clark,
only
please
women areas.
change comment and invest it.
This is only women train car.
If you
Also, only men can't ride this train car.
invest it, may post in back.
Pre-class gender system and only women train car made to protect women for sex crime.
Such as chocolate, cheese, fruits.
In summarize, I shared
If you
background
visit there, please
and
try
history
looking
and
for
discrimination.
your flavor.
I think we should notice and admire the differences between men and women. Also, we should cooperate with each other for good life. Thank you for listening. Let's move on to our conclusions. We have to change outdated thinking and roles of men and women. Also, we have to improve society system. Now, let's think again about two questions which Erika mentioned. Do you think men and women have different ability? What is men and women's roles? We think Japan can change and become a place where women shine. Also, our generation has to build equality society between men and women. Thank you for listening.
Does anyone have any questions? Please. The question is, have we experienced gender gap discrimination? Yes, I have. My part-time job is a restaurant, and in the kitchen, only men work there, and no women. No, women can't work in the kitchen.
Did you want to work in the kitchen?
Did you say?
Discrimination if you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You may not want to dig holes in the ground.
Popularized site, valuable treasures and rich history.
Sorry, could you say that again? That's a good question, but I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
Are there only just girls' school and boys' school, or can you go to school with other genders?
Could you say that again?
Can you go to school with boys and girls, or is it only girls' school?
The question is, can we go to school with boy or only girls' school? Their answer is, we can choose. If you want to go girls' school, you can choose girls' school. Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, please.
We broke this atmosphere. You don't need any. You don't need a passport. Need that.
the question is how do men feel about Abenomics? That's good questions, but I'm women and I'm not sure about men's feeling.
Could you say that again?
The average age that Japanese women
Oh,
Many questions.
the question is, what is the average of Japanese women to get married? That's a really good question, but it's out of my research. Sorry. But I think recently, gradually, late. Before is maybe 60 years ago, around 60 years ago. The average age is before 25 years old. Now is maybe over 25. Thank you. Yes, please.
What is your idea for the solution to the problem
Oh. The question is, what is the better solution about gender gap? I think, first of all, it's difficult to change our stereotypes. So, first of all, government have to change the system.
I don't think so.
Yes, it will be connect more equal society. Yes, please.
Has your 4 months here at MFWI helped you be ready to fight?
Fight. Yeah, I think so.
Good.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?